Hi guys, I thought I would just run us through something really quick. I want to be sort of as an example of the type of not just deeper but more focused work that I do with people, and that I really want to start doing more with people. Just I know that I can guide things a little more than I do, because it was usually, my thing was just, here's light language, bye, you know, and stuff like that. So I'm proud to be part of that whole type of consciousness and that yang thing, this like spiritual warrior of light mythos or whatever you want to call it. That I'm just kind of like, here's all the light, ascend, see you later. But I think that people need to be reminded of things subtly, as in, we may not be able to get ourselves into a practice, spiritual practice, spiritual discipline. Discipline for me is still the hardest thing to do, to develop some type of consistency in a practice. And I am almost loath to call it practice at this point, because it's like a dance. We need to be approaching our spiritual work as though it were play, but not with a certain amount of reverence or whatever. So anyway, then my thing is foundational practices. I don't do enough foundational practice, but all that aside, what I'm saying right now is, if I can include some foundational practices, I can subtly remind people, not just remind people, but get you, everyone who wants to work with me in any way, to more regularly participate in foundational practices, which will only get you higher, stronger, faster, harder, and all of those good things from that Daft Punk song. So yes, let us begin. I don't usually do this kind of stuff, so it's fun. This is a track of mine called Hold Me in Your Light. Hold Me in Your Light, yeah, that's right. I play it a lot because I keep coming back to this one, because it's just very pure, just very easy. Ooh. Dirty bottoms. Ew. Goodness. So, what we're gonna do is some breathing and some relaxing. And I would like you to get into your favorite position. If you can get into the lotus position, good for you. I can't. But chair or lying down, if you can stay awake that way. I won't make this too incredibly long. I just wanted to go over. Let me just kind of zoom this back right now. I would just be able to see my bald monk head. Okay, so a foundational practice that I won't go much further than any other type of breath work than doing two things, one of which I am going to talk about now. That is what I was introduced to as the one breath, as a sort of concept, capital O, and that is to make your breath as smooth and stable and slow, so that it feels like silk. How do you make your breath feel like silk? You will start to notice as you do breath work, especially if you hold your breath, you'll start to feel that burning sensation, as in you need oxygen, and you will start to direct that in different places, and you will start to realize that what you are craving is not necessarily oxygen, but the energy that you get from that oxygen, the chi that you get from that oxygen, from taking in a good breath, And so all of the cultures connect breath and chi or prana. In fact, those words mean breath, And so there's a reason for that. It used to bother me. It's not breath, it's energy. Well, we call it that now. That's the way we define it now. This is an energy that I'm taking into my body by breathing in a certain way, or just by breathing, So they were undifferentiated, at least in a certain way, except when you do, they were still differentiated, but only in experience and the way people understood these things. There just wasn't the differentiation and the definitions of them. So one breath means that there's really no separation between the in-breath and the out-breath, because you will do and then you'll have a pause usually, and then and so you sort of feel that emptiness, and there's a pause, and then you breathe in again, and it's like, okay, no, what we're trying to do is make everything so slow and so continuous and so smooth as silk that the in-breath is like this and the out-breath is like this. It's like it can be very subtle, you know, and you might not be able to go slow at first because your body or your energetic systems or whatever you want to focus on might not be used to pulling in energy that way. Okay, so the other practice that I want to do eventually is what I was saying before, as in breath retention work. And if you exhale all of your air, push your abdomen in a little bit to get that stuff out, and then hold it, you'll start to feel that energetic burning sensation, you know, that need for energy. You can indeed focus and move this feeling. It is a very real energetic occurrence, and when you're focusing on it, if you do that, release all your breath, hold it, and then you start to feel that sensation. Where you start to feel that sensation is most likely where, and you shouldn't be holding in your muscles, just there's a sort of tension where you keep your breath from, you know, it's that, you know, keeping it inside or whatever, because you want to breathe in again, you want to just continually do that, but it's like unnatural to stop, so you have to find that and relax everything while you're still holding that tension. And then where you find that you're holding that tension is typically where you will feel that energetic sensation, those feelings start to arise. And when you're focusing on it, you can put it wherever, and it will cause that sensation to occur there. And so the point is to breathe as lowly and slowly into your abdomen as possible. And so when you're doing these breath retention exercises, even if it's just simply figuring out what that feeling feels like, so exhaling your breath, waiting for that sensation, and being relaxed enough to direct it as low as possible. And then when you breathe in, you're still focusing on that point, but then energy typically tends to rush to that point. And if it's any of the ones up here, if you're focusing on any of this stuff like a chakra or whatever, then you can start to feel body energy or chi or jing even, because it's a really powerful way to do this kind of stuff, to move energy with breath, rush up to the spot on which you're focusing. So you can use it as a sort of like purification or a cleansing exercise, as in holding the breath, and it's burning and it's burning and it's burning, and you're focusing on your heart and you're focusing on your heart and that burning sensation, and then you finally release because you have to breathe in. Typically, if you're doing something up here, do not, if you're focusing here, you're going to want to breathe here. So don't and breathe into your chest, because then you'll pass out. So you should, while focusing here, still be able to breathe all the way down into your lower abdomen as low as possible. All right. So I wasn't going to do both of the exercises, but I just described both of them. Breath retention to train yourself to figure out how to direct energy. Mind the sensation of burning, the feeling, the real feeling of energy, a need of energy, that burning when you want oxygen, and to be able to push that down. And if you can't push it down and you can't direct it, then it's really something that you need to work on. And like I said before, wherever is natural for you to focus on, and wherever you feel that sensation is probably where you're breathing to. As in, if it's in the solar plexus, that's good, but it needs to go lower. And so you need to start breathing all the way down there, right? That's key. All this stuff is great, but we as bodies, though, we need to integrate this stuff as low as possible. And that's why all the Qigong, Neigong, Neidong, whatever, internal alchemical work of the Taoist nature is always focused back down to the lower Dantian. Back down to the lower Dantian. Back down to the lower Dantian. You always start and end with that. And it's like, well, I thought we were supposed to be like ascending here. Aren't we supposed to be leaving these bodies behind? No, if you want to, that's your thing. But this is a process of integration. Spirit descends as matter ascends. So they are coming into each other continually. But when we decide to do this process of ascension, it speeds everything up. And so it's coming more into us. We are coming more into it. And bodies change and change and change. And you might think like, well, anyway, I could talk about the ascension process for a really long time, but I did actually want to do some work. So now that I've described everything, work with the breath retention and figuring out how to direct that feeling. Very powerful stuff, breath retention work, and just working that way. Get used to it, all right? Now, once you've done that, you want to breathe as low and slow as possible. You want to get as relaxed as possible. And I think that a more yin approach to this is in just wait until you barely start to feel the need to breathe in and just let it go as smoothly as possible. And then there should be no separation between the pulling in of breath, this is how gentle it should be, and a sort of just moment when the breath goes back the other direction and you're exhaling, right? To start, you can breathe in through the nose and then gently out through the mouth, as in just a sort of like, I like just that sort of, that hot feeling of breath, you know? I don't know if you can hear my breath, but you know, it sort of helps to just release that way, and it helps with the downward flow, the yin current. And so I really encourage that. I haven't done it enough myself. I've just been a nose breather in every practice, which is fine, but it tends to build, and then stuff comes into the head. And for me, it's always difficult to get this stuff to move down. And so having the just sort of release, as in like, I can just let this go. Because when you get to the yin current, there's no directing. You have to just ride the wave and relent. Release, surrender, if you will, although that one gets me a little, I don't know. That might be a little loud. Sorry if that was loud. My voice carries so much, I just never know what I'm like. Looks fine. So, let's go ahead and do that. You have this idea of the one breath. Try to do it. Just be as low into the body as possible, and as slow and gentle as possible. At a certain point, it's almost like you're not breathing at all. And that's the point, really. I'll talk more later. Just practice that breath. want to pull in too hard, and you don't want to push out too hard. You don't want to contract your muscles around your abdomen too much. You want to just have it be barely a movement, because again, you are trying to pull in energy into your body, not just oxygen. Because I can go and that might be a little refreshing to certain systems, but it's also like, ooh, it gets energy moving and stuff, but that's not how you pull in energy. Pranayama, a lot of the circulations, all of the circulations, even in Qigong, the goal is to unify your ability to pull in energy and the breath. And so it has to do with the mind as well. The mind can make the breath extremely unsteady, but the breath can also make the mind unsteady if it is incorrect. And the opposite side of that, or the other side of that, is that the breath can still the mind, and they are intimately connected in that way. I don't want to go into all the stuff behind that. All you need to know is the one breath. This is something to work towards. So it's like, for me, I don't know, I can't even remember how I started to do it, because I would do my excitatory shaking practices and stuff like that, and then I would end with this one breath, as in trying to just still everything out. And I think that really connected all of my practices together, because it really teaches you, yes, in a way, breath is not oxygen. Breath is life. Breath is what oxygen becomes when you choose to ingest it and get energy from it. For whatever reason, we've been focused in that way. That's just the naturally we come into this world breathing, But it teaches you eventually to just focus on energy. And when you do that, and there is a soft, smooth, malleable, silken chi that you can get if you connect the sensation of energy and the breath. And you'll notice that chi moves much more slowly than the breath does, or at least than we're used to having the breath move, because again, we come into this world breathing. An infant will breathe naturally and correctly, and then we proceed to mess them up, and the rest of the world does. It's not just parents' fault. All right, so I wanted to do that, and I wanted to share one more sort of practice, and you can do this with your conception of your personal God or your personal highest consciousness. I think people need to bridge. There's a lot of worlds that we can go here. So I always talk about internal circulations and, energy as energy, and treat it as an energy, and then you can work with it more directly, and that's great. But then there's also the weird conceptions of having a sovereign or presiding deity or spirit around each of your dantian. Is like a more extended Taoist idea that there were these like Buddhas or spirits that were, and I think it was originally sort of a Buddhist type idea, that were like the guardians and protectors of all of the systems of your body and every organ and everything like that. And so to be able to, that is more like a Buddhist concept, I think, as in everything has a little God spirit around it, but that's good, and I like that. And so sometimes it's like, how do you bridge this opening to channel and spirit and the divine and all of this stuff, and we're just working with energy and alchemizing, transmuting energies within our own bodies. How do you bridge the two, So for me, it's this personal stuff. I don't get into different deities and stuff or whatever, right now at least. But me, it's just going back to Atman, or going back to the personal Godhead, or even the Christ body, if you want to call it that. If that's something that your Christ body, if that's something that you're into, then you have something that you connect to outside of yourself that is greater than yourself. Call it God or whatever. That's what you should be working with. And tell it to do things to you. Like, as an old chaos magician, from the 90s or whatever, like, magicians are much more in that style, Western or whatever. They seem to be much more comfortable demanding things, and it doesn't have to be egoic, and it doesn't have to be bad. I want enlightenment. Without that desire, there would be no enlightenment. Even the Buddha said that. I say that a lot because people get down on emotions and stuff. But so that desire needs to be there, first of all. And so I don't think that it's absolutely I don't think it's in any way improper to say, do this for me, give this to me. Even Dr. Zhigang Shah, who's got all those popular books out, who's an incredibly powerful healer, he uses formulas to say to the divine, hello, Babaji, I love you. Do this now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And it's like, yeah, like that's totally in line with spirit. It's totally in line. It's more in line with spirit than going, oh, please, God, if you can find it in your heart to help me, this pitiful creature that doesn't deserve anything. It's like, come on, like, you are a child of God, so act like one. And people are really sensitive in the New Age communities about not getting into that ego consciousness. It has nothing to do with ego. As long as you're coming from a truly pure place or whatever, you need to search within yourself if you have a problem demanding things from God, and figure out why you feel so blocked about that. Do you not think that God wants you to have everything? So, in this last practice, I'm going to combine these two things. My Taoist craziness and this New Agey connecting to this stuff. So, follow me, please. You can use the name of your being entity if you want to. I will not use mine. It is magically private. I will just say source at this point. And I'll explain this. I will explain this process in a moment. Repeat after me if you want to follow along. Divine Source, hello. Open the Yang Gate. Divine Source, make my upper dantian glow. Divine Source, make my middle dantian glow. Divine Source, make my lower dantian glow. Divine Source, open the yin gate. Divine Source, activate and nourish my lower dantian. Divine Source, activate and nourish my middle dantian. Divine Source, activate and nourish my upper dantian. Divine Source, connect all these centers and allow your divine energy to flow through me, undifferentiated and pure, as the divine immortal fetus. And when you're ready, put your hands back over your lower dantian. Should have started there, but you know, to bring the energy back down, center. And I just want to say that you can use any phrasing that is most titillating to your mind. Whatever is going to stimulate you, activate you, whatever the word is, yeah, that's what I want to happen to each of these energy centers. And of course, the process was open the yang gate, which to me is what a new age person may call the soul star chakra, and opening that stuff opens up consciousness to the yang spirit, the Atman, and that's the yang gate to me. That's just a term that I came up with when I'm trying to describe things for myself. So it's not traditional, is what I'm saying. And then you work with the upper dantian, whatever you're calling your spirit. Do this. You can say light up, make glow, burn, if you're really comfortable with that. Spark the flame of my upper dantian, spark the flame of my middle dantian. You can get as grandiose as you want, or as reserved and subdued as you want, as sort of like a secret, and you're saying these things internally and vibing them internally. It's more of a yin type process. I like to say things out loud, man. Yang all the way, baby. So you say those things out there, and it's like out there in the world. It's like affecting things. It's more my style. So use your own phrasing, whatever works for you. I said, activate and nourish. Activate, yang. Nourish, yin. So there's two aspects to that point, and that command that you're giving your spirit. Do not be afraid to command your spirit. It is yours. Not as in like a servant. In fact, you are more like a servant of it, but you get to do things, and you get to choose more or less. So open, go all the way down, just 3 main energy centers in the body, man, and then open the yin gate, and then start over from the bottom up. And then I get back to here and telling them to do, and you can tell them to do the same thing, and then just go down, and then go up, and go down, and go up, and go down, and go up, and you are instituting the practice of ascension. That is alchemy. You know, it is about circulations, and so going one direction and then going another, and then going one direction and then going another, merging in your own consciousness, energy, and spirit, and reaching beyond yourself to pull things in, and then making your intention clear that this is exactly what you want to happen. You don't even have to feel it, just be there. So every time that I was saying something happened to this Dantian, I'm simply feeling that area. And there's the smile and know it principle, which I like to talk about, which is like, yeah, you are lighting up my upper Dantian. I accept that. I smile and I know it. Beautiful. And as you do that, the crown chakra opens up when you smile. It's almost like a secret practice smile alchemy, man. It's amazing. And you start to transmute those things with that holding a certain frame in order to allow energy to run through you. If I was like, you know, it's like that can come through me and you can feel perfectly divine or whatever, but you're also like, oh, you've got this sinking energy or whatever. It's like, no, let's raise the vibration, let's get this up. Sometimes things have to go down. Anyway, so you're giving a command in order to set an intention, and it almost is like you don't have to do anything after that. Leave it up to your higher spirit. However, sense the area and you will probably notice changes in energy anyway. And so that's just an example of a practice of things that I want to take people through in order to really start to do the stuff, you know, because people need to ascend, and I still find that, like, no matter how much information is out there about ascension, it's like, well, how do we do this? Like, come on, you know, there's a lot of stuff we can do. If you want to work with me personally, please contact me, whitesagealchemy@gmail.com. Hyphens. Love, thanks for watching.